Hi everyone, how's it going? I'm just making a short video because the police are coming over tomorrow to discuss referring me to Brighton to Independent Mediation Service. I do predict that the police are once again going to waste my time like they normally do. So I'm not holding out too much hope for a result here. The housing thing might escalate. Most likely it will at some level. But truth is, I'm not really worried about it. And this is the thing, the perps have tried to send hints at me, like previous places, like mentioning previous places where I wanted to move to and stuff because of the harassment that was going on here and all that stuff. I am aware that it is harder to find a place now, like if you're on benefits, and especially if you're a single person. I'm aware that it's harder to find a place. I'm aware that I am most likely going to have a house share for a longer period of time if that happens. I'm aware of all these things, but hear what, right? I've been moved to places I didn't want to be. When I was in Willesden Green, I was somewhere I didn't want to be. I wanted to move out, but I didn't want to be there. I was moved to somewhere that I didn't want to be. When I was moved out of Willesden Green into Cricklewood, I was somewhere I didn't want to be. When I moved from Cricklewood to Brighton, I was somewhere I didn't want to be. But each and every time that I was somewhere I didn't want to be, I rocked the house. So it's not me that should be worried. It's the gangstalkers that should be worried. And in fact, they are worried right now. Because the simple fact is that it doesn't matter how much harassment is going on, I have maintained supreme control over my emotions. So everybody around me is just wondering what the fuck's going on at this point. And they're getting restless, they're becoming unsettled, and they're trying every single lame trick in the book to get a rise out of me, and it's not working because they realize how ridiculous it is. And they're starting to get worried. Now, I made a previous video in which I said that I thought that if they don't upset me, they don't get paid. Somebody in the comments on TikTok assured me that that's not the case. And I'm thinking that they're right. I'm thinking that they have a point. But hear what? I think gang stalking is getting cheaper and cheaper. And the perps are going to have to work harder and harder to earn their bread. We've had Brexit, we've had COVID, we've had the cost of living. So they're going to have to work harder and harder for their fucking bread because of the cost of living. On top of that, you had the war in the Ukraine and you've got the war in the Middle East. All of that costs money. Every single thing that I have discussed has contributed to the cost of living crisis. A cost of living crisis that is only going to get worse. Civil services are stretched. Even the syndicate responsible for gang stalking are fucking stretched. They don't have the money. So they have to work harder and harder to get their bread for fewer and fewer returns, I'm sure of it. And the fact that I'm not reacting in the way that they want, that's danger. That's a dangerous place for them to be. Imagine having all eyes on you. Imagine having your walls bugged and your home bugged and your home broken into. Imagine people knowing everything about you and still not being able to know your next move. That's the position these people are in. Because if I have control over my emotions and they don't control my emotions, I control my emotions. It means they can't really predict my next move like that. And they used to be able to. I used to be very predictable. It used to be, if I was upset, I'd go online, make a rant. And that would be the end of it. Then they would know that the torture was working. But now they don't have any real indicators. They don't have any real indicators that the gang stalking is working. And it's making them nervous. It's making them nervous because if they don't know how I'm feeling, if they can't gauge it, then they don't know what my next move is going to be. So what I feel like they're going to do is they're going to keep leaning on my family, because my family, truth be told, they're the only people left that can possibly get a rise out of me, because nobody said dumb fucking shit like your family. Nobody does dumb fucking shit like your family. Nobody picks fights over the dumbest shit like your family does. So I think that they're going to lean on that, and they're going to lean on family. But hear what? I'm becoming impervious to some of my family's ridiculous behavior too. Even with some perps in my family not being funny, there are some people who have died that were working for the perps. I'm not going to say who they are. There are some people that have died that are working for the perps. Even among my family, which is very big, by the way. It's a lot bigger than I'm saying. It's a lot bigger than people know. The numbers are dwindling. The numbers are dwindling. The amount of people working for the gangstalkers, even among my family, their numbers are dwindling. And that's gangstalking's own fault. That's their own fucking fault, because they got too big for their boots. They got too big for their boots. And this is what happens. It's not just TIs that are losing their lives out here. Shout out to Robert Duncan. Rest in peace to him. I'm going to mention him in a minute. It's not just TIs losing their lives out here. This is a global genocide. Perps are losing their lives too. In fact, there are more perps losing their lives than TIs are. That's the truth. That's the truth. And it doesn't matter who those perps are or who those perps belong to. They're dying off. They're dying off. All those promises. If you become a bully and you pick on this person, we can get this for you. Every single neighborhood that I've been harassed out of, most of them, if not all of them, are deteriorating. Do you understand? They're deteriorating as a direct result of gang stalking. That's after I got there and rocked the fucking house and let people know I ain't the one to play with. Deteriorated. That's what will happen with this neighborhood. This neighborhood is already deteriorating because people keep bringing gang stalkers here. It's already deteriorating. That's what I mean. Gang stalkers don't learn. They keep doing the same shit. They keep doing the same shit over and over again. I'm not going to say that I've moved on. If I'm going to be trafficked for the rest of my life, there is no moving on. But I've changed some of my ways. I pick my battles. I don't talk about everything anymore. I don't need to. I don't need to. Why do I need to? The gang stalkers will talk for me because that's what the fuck they do. And it doesn't matter how much they get their asses kicked. It doesn't matter how many times I outsmart them. Like I said, they're always going to think I'm fucking stupid. Because that's what they do. You have to remember, gang stalking is based on narcissistic abuse. And what it does is it mimics the exact behavior of narcissistic personality disorder. It weaponizes everything you do to make you look as small and as unattractive and as grimy as they possibly can to elevate themselves. So that's the first thing about gang stalking. The second thing about gang stalking is that it's persistent. TIs, including Robert Duncan, a very prominent man who spilled, national secrets in order to help people all over the fucking world. There are people who die being TIs. So that's the second component of gang stalking. Just like a narcissist, gang stalking never quits. It doesn't matter how many perps they lose. It doesn't matter how many perps get killed. It doesn't matter how many TIs die. It doesn't matter. They will not stop. And gang stalking is losing money just like everything else is. They're still not going to stop. It's a narcissistic system of mass torture and mass genocide. So it's not going to stop. That's the second thing. The third thing is it deteriorates communities. I've seen this firsthand. There's so many neighborhoods that have gang stalked me that are slowly but surely, like just incrementally deteriorating as a direct result of gang stalking. There's been a surgery that's closed down. There was a surgery that I used to go to when I was a kid that closed the fuck down. Nobody has any money to rebuild anything. Fucking deteriorating. All of it. And gang stalking played a part in all of that. Now I'm going to get into Dr. Robert Duncan. I just want to say a brief rest in peace to Dr. Robert Duncan. He died sometime in early July. He was so instrumental in the lives of so many TIs, including myself. I've watched some videos of his. He was a brilliant man. He gave everything. He gave so much to so many. I don't think he even realized before he died the extent of how many people he actually helped. How many people he actually helped. And according to his friends, according to the people who knew him, and according to Dr. Robert Duncan himself, it was the DEWs that actually killed him. Because quite frankly, between him, Liza Goldsmith, there have been so many other TIs that have noticed a spike in their gang stalking just before they die, just before they commit suicide, or in Dr. Robert Duncan's case, the body just gives up. Daniel Bowden, same thing. He talked about how the weapons were harming him. Next thing you know, he's gone. David Scott Baker had cancer because of the directed energy weaponry. He's gone. TIs will never shut up. We will always open our mouths when we're being killed. And that's exactly what Dr. Robert Duncan did. He sounded the alarm. Unfortunately, it was too late to save him. They were just hammering him too much. But that man literally gave his life. Gave his fucking life to save God knows how many TIs. From themselves, from ourselves. He saved us from ourselves, a lot of us. Even me. Like I said, I don't think he understands the reach that he had. I don't think he understands how many people he actually helped. I don't think he gets it. I don't think he got it. I don't think he understood how many people he helped. There was this show with Jesse Ventura and June Sarpong and another person, I think. And they were exploring gang stalking. Dr. Robert Duncan was talking to them about gang stalking and how it worked and how the DEWs worked. He's done a lot for a lot of people, and he put himself out there like that to be ridiculed by God knows how many people. Just like TIs continue to be ridiculed now. He's done a hell of a lot for so many people, and like, he's been close with some TIs that I've been talking to as well. So it's a very big loss. It's a huge loss. Rest in peace to Robert Duncan. I will talk more about him in a later video when I've done a bit more research on him, because I think I should do that. But as for now, rest in peace to him. But from one TI to an alleged other TI, now I've got to talk about Trump. Now, there are a lot of TIs out there that can see through Trump and understand that he's a shill and understand that he's no good and understand that he's a fucking idiot. And then there are those of them who think that somehow he's a good person because he says common sense things that the ordinary person says. First of all, when I became aware of the Truther movement, it was back in university. That's when I first became aware of it. I was aware of the Holocaust denials. I was asking questions about that. I was aware of the Holocaust denials. I was aware of, you know, talks about the zeitgeist. I was aware of all of these things. I was aware of talks of the Illuminati. I was aware of all of these things. And at first, the way these people made these things sound, now this is where it gets dangerous. This is where Nazism gets dangerous, right? Because all of these things were framed as the government deceiving us and fucking with us in order to get that, you know, that's how it started. It started with anti-Semitism, right? But they painted that anti-Semitism as something that was actually fighting for Jewish people and for black people and for, that's how they framed it. They framed it not as something that was inherently a anti-Semitic rumor, but something that was important for people to know because Jewish people were also being deceived. That's how it was framed. So you had the Holocaust denials framed as if it was saving everybody. And they often said common sense things like the Hollywood elite are racist, which they are. The Illuminati are racist, which they are. Like, they would say common sense things to hook you into some other nonsense that didn't make any sense and that were clearly white supremacist rhetoric. These dog whistles, that were painted as having amazing intentions or good intentions for the whole of mankind, these dog whistles were really white racist people getting ready to use common sense talking points like the racism in the world, like the fact that Obama was another puppet being put in place in government, like all of these things, all the truth about how the government works, all of it was coincided with Obama and coincided with diversity. So the way they did it is they made it look as if they were helping everybody by exposing this corruption just at the time where this black man happened to be president. And there happened to be whisperings of Jewish elites in control. That's how this shit starts. They always work people with some common sense stuff, and then they use that common sense stuff to introduce their racist rhetoric, their anti-Semitic rhetoric, their fucking, like, that's how they play it. That's exactly how they play the shit. I've been watching this shit since I was in uni. That's almost 20 years. That's how they play it. And that's exactly how Trump has played it. Trump has said some common sense things, made sure that those common sense things could only be seen by right wingers, so that right wingers can turn around and say, well, see, he's making sense. He's saying things that actually make sense. Oh, I agree with him on this. Oh, I agree with him on this. To the point where when he starts actually revealing his true colors as a racist, idiotic con man, they will still stand behind him because they're still hooked on the supply of validation and legitimization that they actually gave him. That's exactly how Trump is playing this. He thinks that the public are idiots, and he's right. He's been using dog whistles the entire time he's been in power. He's using dog whistles, and those dog whistles have fucking worked. And the fact that TI's even trust that man just because people like Trey Gowdy are getting in the government's face about cruel and unusual punishment, all of that was a ploy. All of that was a ploy. They are backed by billionaires here. They're backed by gun companies. They're backed by people who are, you know, guns are normally used by people in rural areas because they actually need guns. They know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly who they're appealing to by doing this. And they've gone down a nationalist angle as well. Made TI into a nationalist thing rather than an international thing. And speaking of which, there's a surveillance bill that Joe Biden wanted to extend internationally. He wanted to extend the surveillance bill Basically, he was doing it to legitimize gang stalking and cover it up. That's what Biden was doing that for. He was doing it to legitimize gang stalking and cover it up. Trump tried to kill the bill. Trump tried to kill the bill, or at least he made it look as if he was trying to kill the bill. Now, really think about it. This is the same guy who was accused of colluding with Russia. Russia, who is currently at war with the Ukraine, currently part of the new group of superpowers that are about to take over. So really think about it. If Trump has been accused of colluding with Russia, has openly had a relationship with Putin at one point, probably doing something illegal in the process, why do you think he would want to kill that bill? Why do you think he would want to kill that bill? It's not for TIs. The TIs, using us, is simply using a Trojan horse. No, let me correct that. Using white TIs is Trump's Trojan horse. That stuff about microwaves, you know, cameras in microwaves that Kellyanne Conway talked about, all of that was strategic. They made that shit look crazy so that nobody was any of the wiser. So on the one hand, they're legitimizing us by having Senate meetings about gang stalking and cruel and unusual punishment against Americans. On the one hand, they're legitimizing it. And then on the other, they're trying to make it look as crazy and stupid as possible by talking about cameras and microwaves. This is a government. Trump's administration has always been a government that speaks with forked tongues. And people just do not understand how serious this shit is. Trump speaks with forked tongues. And now there's been a shooting. Let's put this together. You've got the entertainment industry who have allegedly been involved in human trafficking. Part of that human trafficking being done by a private security group called Black Cube. I think their name is Black Cube Intelligence or Black Cube Security. They're a private security firm. That same intelligence firm that is, to my knowledge, owned by BlackRock. The same BlackRock that also has money in both the Democrats and the Republicans. Now put this all together. You've got private intelligence services looking at the public, watching our reactions to everything. We just had a rap beef between Kendrick Lamar and Drake. Kendrick Lamar was the Joe Biden of the piece, like loosely, because Lamar ain't nothing like Joe Biden, right? Kendrick Lamar was the Joe Biden of the piece. Drake was the Trump of the piece. After Kendrick Lamar beat Drake's ass, and I mean thoroughly whooped his ass on no less than 4 tracks, thoroughly whooped that man's ass. Now, in a rap beef, after he did that, what Drake did, allegedly, I have to say allegedly, because this is my personal opinion, Drake set up a scenario where there were shots fired at his home and a security guard got injured. There was a scenario set up where shots were fired at his home. So allegedly, I have to say allegedly, because this is what I believe, Drake set up a fake shooting or a false flag to garner public sympathy and to try to paint Lamar as somebody who incites violence. Only in Drake's case, it didn't work. When it comes to Trump, I have to say allegedly, because I don't know for sure whether or not this is what he actually did. I'm just going by what I know. Allegedly, Trump did the same thing. Only in Trump's case, it actually worked. So Kendrick versus Drake was the preliminary event. It was a microcosm, a mirror of what was to come. It wasn't actually the full thing. It was a mirror of it. It was a reflection of it. And the main battle was between Joe Biden and Trump. That was the main event. Only this time it happened in the reverse. Joe completely lost any debates with Trump. And Trump allegedly sets up a fake shooting. But this time it actually works, because now there are people willing to deify him. So this whole thing was set up. There was predictive programming set up throughout this entire thing. And I believe that there are private intelligence services, lobbyists that are responsible for all of this happening. That Kendrick Lamar and Drake beef was actually preparing us for what was going on between Biden and Trump. But it was a mirror image of it, so that people wouldn't be any the wiser as to what was going on. Did you know that Drake apparently has white supremacists in his corner too? Did you know that? There are parallels. And those parallels, they're not by accident. They're deliberate. Trump is playing everyone for a fucking idiot. He's there calling for war. Calling for war, like raising his fist in the air the second he gets shot. Like, yeah. My guy, you are nearly 80. And you're putting a fist in the air like as soon as you get shot in the ear. No, something ain't right. And as for the guy who allegedly got killed, I don't know if that was an actor or if that was a sleeper cell. Because, again, with MK Ultra mind control technology or mind control techniques, they can easily create sleeper cells. They can easily create sleeper cells to do this shit. And on top of that, I got to ask questions about Trump's security. Because how was this even allowed to happen? Allegedly. I have to say allegedly, because I don't know for sure. But I think it was a setup. I think it was a setup to deify Trump, and it worked. I think it absolutely worked. And I think the next time it happens again, it will be successful. But just like Hitler allegedly went on to lead a long and prosperous life in South America, I think when they assassinate Trump, if he's not too old by that time, I think he will also be moved on to a new life with a new identity. I think one way or another, it's not going to be any third attempt on Donald Trump's life. It's not going to be the last we see of Donald Trump. We're about to meet all of them. We're going to meet all of them. In fact, it's already happening. Bolsonaro in Brazil, another guy in Argentina. It's already happening. We're meeting all the Trumps. Boris Johnson over here in the UK, we're meeting all the fucking Trumps. All of them. It's Nigel Farage now. It's reforms over here in this country. They're growing in numbers. We're about to meet all the fucking Trumps. Fucking all of them. And this deified orange blob of contempt who gets off on warfare that he doesn't actually have to fight, he's going to be at the forefront of it all. A figurehead of bigotry and ruin. Racism, hatred, bigotry, all of these things have already ruined our world. All of these things have already destroyed our world, led to extinction level events of God knows how many species. I think it's about 6 million species or something that have faced extinction level events as a direct result of white supremacy trying to put his dick in everything. White supremacy will not be happy unless it destroys the entire planet and becomes king of the ashes. This country already took a hit partially because of Brexit. How much more do you think every country is going to take a hit? because of Trump, because of Farage, because of Starmer, because of Bolsonaro, because of that dickhead in Argentina. How many more hits do you think the country's going to take? But the racists don't care. Because as long as somebody is agreeing with their self-destructive bullshit, everybody's got to pay. Everybody has to pay, and gang stalking is responsible for it all. Let's not get a damn thing twisted. Gang stalking, the unlawful experimentation of directed energy weaponry and surveillance technology, supplemented by psychological warfare. All of it is responsible for all of this. And it's only going to get worse. Because the one thing that people like Trump and those who follow him, the one thing they don't like to do, they never like to admit they're wrong. They never like to admit that their choices are actually leading to the destruction of humanity, not the empowerment of it. So they're going to continue down this road. They don't know that everything's fucking tits up because of them. They don't understand that everything is tits up because of racism. They blame black people and brown people for the deterioration of urban areas, for the deterioration of cities. But the truth of the matter is that the more black and brown people have found themselves there, the more funding has been taken away. That's why. If the funding wasn't taken away from black and brown people or from diverse communities, then those diverse communities would be just like everywhere else. It might even be a little bit better. Because the way a lot of our communities are set up, the way a lot of African, Caribbean, Indian, Chinese, Filipino communities are set up, might even be a little bit better with the exact same funding. Can't have that, because there's a hierarchy to maintain. Can't have that. So it's because of racism why there was a high crime rate, why there was all of this shit going on. It was because of fucking poverty and fucking systemic injustice. That's why it was happening. And even then, there's bigger knife crime in Glasgow than there is in London. And that's full of white people. Glasgow's full of white people. The fuck? But that's what these people do. That's what these people do. They create problems and then they blame the problems on the people they're making trouble for. That's exactly what they do. And these racists, either they can't see that or they don't want to see that. And they will happily watch this planet burn the fuck up so they don't have to deal with any black or brown people. Or even white working class people. They will happily burn this planet the fuck up because that's what they do. That's what they do. They create disaster upon disaster and then they move on to newer and greener pastures and create disasters there. That's exactly what the fuck they do. That's exactly what the fuck they do. And that's exactly what gang stalking is facilitating. Right now, nobody cares. Nobody cares. All they care about is getting their next paycheck for harassing somebody, and that's it. That's all they care about. They don't care about the impact that it's leaving on the rest of the world. They could give a fuck. As long as they get to survive. But this is the thing about the survival of the fittest. Is that humanity's soul dies. But again, who gives a fuck? I think I'm being a bit loud because there's music going on in the background. And it's like, what? 20 to 11? Yeah, my windows are open because it's hot, man. But, or no, actually, tell a lie. I leave my windows open anyway because of the radiation. Because of the directed energy weapons, there's a lot of radiation that comes in and out of here. If I keep the windows open, it lessens the effects of the DEWs, and also it lessens the effect of the radiation. So I always keep a window open, even when I get loud. But yeah. Yeah. They don't give a fuck. They will watch this world burn, just like Trump will continue to be deified, because people don't want the truth. There are black people involved in gang stalking right now, not only in London but in Brighton too. Plenty of people in the black community down here involved in gang stalking. You think they give a shit about the rest of the world? You think they give a shit about what they're doing? They don't care. And it's that not caring that is going to lead to everybody's downfall, including theirs. Like I said, there are more perps dying than TIs. They don't give a fuck. I revealed a lot tonight. I think I've said too much. I think I've said way too much. But I think it's important to tell the truth. Even if it makes me look kind of bad, which it does. I can't lie. Like, the truth has to be told. Now, I don't know what's going to go on with this BIMS thing tomorrow. Like I said, I believe that the police are going to come over here and waste my time. That's what I believe they're going to do. You know. And as for TIs that have already died and that have already passed away, once again, RIP Robert Duncan. I forgot to mention that there was a TI over here in the UK. I heard it from a source that when they opened up the body of that TI, there were triangular marks found all over his heart. I've actually talked about this before, but I have to talk about this again because this is important. You know, and as for what's going on in care homes, baby, I've got to do some research on that shit before I even begin to say what's going on there. But it's some pretty heavy fucking shit, I can tell you that right now, for nothing. But it's heavy stuff. It's heavy stuff. But anyway, I gotta go. We'll talk soon. I love you guys so much. Peace and blessings. Bye-bye.